So really moving on to the next session, because I want to take as much time as possible to make sure that we've got conversation with both our people joining us next, is really for me to really welcome Dr Emma Fieldhouse and also Dr Sandra Lee. The two of them are really going to be talking to us about the things that they're involved in. So I just want to say a little bit about Emma, to say that she's working through her work, her business at the moment. She runs Future We Want and is working through the challenges of being a digital innovator, as well as really we're so pleased that she's joining us, because in the month that we're celebrating International Women's Day and celebrating the things that women are achieving, so I'm pleased that we're able to honour that, as well as she is one of the Women in Innovation award winners through Innovate UK. And so we again are delighted to be able to share the story that she's going to tell us about her journey so far in regards to that. And really, Dr Sandra Lee, she's the social impact lead here at University of Leicester, driving our sustainability strategy. And she's got a number of projects that she's working on here, as well as I'm pleased to say the award-winning initiative of Innovation for Good, that actually is a joint initiative here within the Innovation Hub and the Social Impact team. And my colleague Asha, who works on that piece of work. So that is very much about bringing our students and graduates with business and looking at sustainability. So there's a whole bunch of things that we can all be talking about and bringing into place this morning. So Emma and Sandra, welcome to the session. And I think we'll kick off straight away with the question to Emma, really, to tell us a little bit of background in terms of sustainability and your story so far, and really give us a flavour of what's been happening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Rajinder. And hi to everybody who's on the call today. So I'm a career environmentalist, I guess you could say. I've worked in sustainability for, oh God, it's getting on 20 years now. Well, it's longer than that, actually. Shh, don't tell anybody. And for me, I think the thing, or the kind of passion that's driven me over that time has always been about how can we actually get people to understand the climate problems that we have and the climate emergency that we're now in. And we have a huge task, because the climate emergency is probably going to eclipse everything that we've experienced through the COVID pandemic in terms of the reach and impact that it's likely to have. And so we've got a very short window of time in which we really need to skill up and educate people from across the globe on climate change and carbon footprints and sustainability. And so that's been my driver for a number of years. And Sandra and I actually are ex-colleagues, because we used to work in the same team when I was the environmental manager at the University of Leicester. And she firsthand had to experience some of my crazy projects when I was literally trying to get people to understand what a ton of carbon might look like. So we produced a carbon cube in the centre of the campus for one of our big green weeks, which was literally the size of a terraced house, so that people could visualise what we were talking about with carbon and carbon emissions, because obviously one of the biggest problems we've got is that people can't see it. And so when I was, I'd left Leicester Uni and I was interim sustainability manager at Southbank University, and hallelujah, we have the Erasmus programme in those days. Obviously Brexit will have had an impact on that now. But I met my now business partner, who at the time was a student at Southbank Uni, and I gave her a copy of Mike Berners-Lee's book, How Bad Are Bananas, and said, please go and produce a game for a Green Week. And she came back with such an impressive concept that I just sat there and I thought, we can't be doing this on post-it notes as part of this Green Week. We have to turn this into a game that everybody can use, because for the first time I discovered a way of having these conversations about carbon footprints and carbon emissions that wasn't threatening for people, that was really truly deeply engaging for them, that was allowing them to be thinking critically about the issues, and it was all done in a fun way because it was a game. And therefore the How Bad a Banana's physical carbon footprint game was actually born. And soon after that, Anya and I became business partners. She won an entrepreneur or enterprise award actually at South Bank Uni whilst we were there. And we started selling and renting this game outside into other universities and into businesses. You know, it wasn't going to come to anything if it had just stayed within the university. And Sandra knows the game well because Leicester has a copy of the game and has been playing the game and using that as part of their climate communications over the last X number of years. But we recognised, and obviously with COVID, we can't play physical games with people at the moment, but we still have this major need to get the word about climate and carbon footprinting out to everybody. And so I submitted with an enormous amount of support from the Leicester network and from the Innovation Hub in particular, who frankly I don't think I'd have actually been successful without the support that was given to me by the Innovation Hub. And Tobias, I'm going to have to big him up at that point in particular, and Sam and others. Yeah, we've submitted an application. I'd been told by everybody, if it's the first time we've done this, it's probably not going to happen. Anyway, here we are. I'm one of 40 female women in innovation winners. We now have the funding to actually take our physical carbon footprint game and turn it into a digital version. So that's kind of where we're at now. I don't know if you want to know more about that specific journey and what we're doing next, but I think maybe I'll pause at that point.
Yeah, it would be good to know a little bit more, Emma, in terms of what are going to be some of the steps now that you're taking, because I think others understanding, because I think, you know, you kind of go over the first piece, which is getting the if you like, the funds in to be able to now move to the next stage. But it's then really thinking about, well, what are going to be some of the next stages in terms of that digital transformation, and moving through that. And obviously, what's going to probably be a little bit of a zigzag journey.
Yeah. So,
can you just repeat the question? I think, Rajinder, your connection's not brilliant.
Sorry, did it not come through? Is that
No,
I think I got the general gist. So,
Oh,
you want to
yeah.
know about the next bit of the journey?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Really, just listening.
So the next part of the journey, I mean, firstly, I'm still being supported to the Innovation Hub, and I'm currently on the Accelerator programme as well, which has been absolutely awesome. I've learned so much about business in particular in the last 5 weeks. We're on 5 weeks of a 6-week programme, and I cannot fault this programme at all. It has been so supportive in terms of all the things I've been able to achieve in that time. I'd recommend it to anybody who's sort of starting up a new kind of enterprise. And essentially, I recognise, and I've learned through that programme, that, you know, there should be 3 co-founders in this business. So I'm the hustler, very much so. I'm the CEO. I'm the person who's trying to make it happen and sell it to everybody. And I guess I kind of am a little bit of the hipster as well. So maybe some of the design elements I'm you know, working on, but actually my partner Anya is actually very good with that. She does have some technical expertise, but neither of us are the hackers that we need. So we've got the hustler, we've got the hipster, but we haven't got the hacker. So we need somebody as our tech founder. And so going into this, you know, I don't know about these technical solutions. You know, this is not my expertise area. My expertise area is about the communication and sustainability piece. So
we know the game. Could you give us an example, please, of what the game does?
Yeah, I can.
So that people can visualize. We're talking about digitizing a physical game.
Yeah.
Could you just, and don't test me because I'll fail.
You don't fail because it's one of your
maybe
favourite
could
comparisons.
we ask it to the audience? I know what the game is, and let's fingers at the ready for the chat. So go on.
Yeah, in the chat, you'll have to type your answer.
Yeah.
Now, normally I'd ask you if you know what a carbon footprint is before we play this, but I'm just going to assume that most of the people on the call have an idea what a carbon footprint is, but I'd say it's all of the greenhouse gases that are produced as a consequence of producing a service or a good. So here's one. Here's a kilogram of hard cheese, okay, probably cheddar, probably made in this country. And here's another one. A pair of average shoes. Now, the reason it's average is because there's quite a difference in shoes. At the low end, you've got a pair of Crocs because it's one moulded material, but you need to phone the fashion police. I've got loads of Crocs, don't tell anybody. And at the other end, I've got leather boots. But this is something in the middle. So it's like a pair of sneakers or trainers. So this would be like the average. But however, which of these has the higher carbon footprint? And why? Now, I do think perhaps we should ask somebody to put their hands up and to give us a little bit of feedback. So tell us why. Where's the carbon footprint in these items? So let's go with cheese first. Mark, I can see you've appeared, so I think you might actually have to say something, mate.
I'm happy to say something. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so my guess would be the cheese would have the highest carbon footprint because of the dairy content and the belching from the cows. However, I'm not entirely certain what the sneakers are made out of. If they're made out of recycled material, that would really help. If they're made out of virgin rubbers, then there is going to be a carbon footprint there. But my guess is it's less than the cheese.
Okay. Now, can I get a field in the chat? Can people just type in cheese or
There's
shoes?
quite a few. We've got both on both sides, so I think the audience is split. So we haven't got much time. So Emma, put us out of our misery, please.
It's very close. So shoes, 11.5 kilograms of CO2 equivalent, which is all the greenhouse gases, and cheese, 12. Congratulations to the people who said cheese. Now, when we first started playing that 5 years ago, people were all saying shoes because we have this perception that carbon is actually about travel and transport and because they come from the other side of the world. But actually, when we look deeper, we realise it's to do with production. And you're absolutely right, Mark, it's actually to do with all the methane that the cows emit.
And Emma and I have been in a room of 50 sustainability professionals and climate scientists, and they failed miserably at this game. I'm sorry, I'll rephrase. We failed miserably at this game. And for me, this really highlights, it's a fun way. You've all got engaged. It's really fun. Everyone's always surprised. We've been using this as an educational piece for staff and students to explain the complexities behind sustainability. And it is fun. And everyone goes away surprised. Okay. So tell us, Emma, in your opinion, how your digital version of the Bananas game is going to change anything and what the relevance is to the green recovery.
Well, I mean, firstly, I've got to give you my killer line, which is what this game's going to be. And it's basically the addictiveness of Angry Birds crossed with the finest climate science, which is from Mike Berners-Lee. And we all know Berners-Lee. You can guess who he's brother to. So that's what we're going to try and do with the game. And it will look different to this physical version because you can't make an online game exactly the same as a physical game. Now, in terms of the green recovery, you know, I mean, we've got big aspirations because every single individual on this planet needs to understand about their own impacts. And so we're going to be targeting the 4 billion internet users. We'll take them a chunk at a time, okay? But they will also be the people with the higher carbon footprints because they're the ones who are accessing the internet and have the phones and have the access through computers, etc. And we want them to understand all of these impacts. And for me, it's going through a gateway. People can't unsee the fact that their own lives have impacts. And I've had so many people say to me, you've changed the way I think, or they've come back to me a year later and said, my entire family have changed everything that we do because we played your game and this is what we do now. And so we need this learning and we need it quickly. And we will be hopefully releasing this on a freemium kind of model. So there'll be free versions available for schools and charities, and also as a viral way of getting people to send it round. And we'll make it competitive. It'll be lots of sort of shiny, sparkly things. You'll be able to collect bananas. So it's going to be ridiculously fun. And that's actually the core of what we're trying to do, because we know the education won't be effective unless we make it fun. But from an innovation perspective, I guess it's quite simple to take a physical game and turn it into a digital thing. But actually, we need it. And because of COVID, this is the way that we're now communicating with one another. It's absolutely essential.
Okay, so I'm a sustainability practitioner, you know, because about 12 years ago, you hired me for my first role at the university. So thank you for that. Still here. And if we've got time, and maybe in the later session, I'd like to talk a bit more about the legacy piece and inspiring other women into the field. And so we'll pause that, but if you come to it. So as a sustainability professional, of course, I want people to engage in this. Sustainability is everyone's problem. It's not an estate's problem. It's not a government problem. It's not someone else's problem. It's all our problem. But I get really frustrated that most of my meetings end up talking about car parking and coffee cup lids, which is such a minuscule part of the university's carbon footprint. So how can I use your digital technology to make it relevant? Because of course I want people to be sustainable in their everyday lives, but actually my goal is to reduce the university's carbon emissions. So how do I use your technology to do that? Please.
Well, I mean, hopefully we'll get to a point where people are able to make these intelligent decisions, you know, and there will be point of source information about this is the carbon footprint of, you know, you're in the supermarket and you should be at a position where you actually know the difference between the carbon footprint of some tomatoes or, you know, something else that you're going to buy, and also those tomatoes at a different time of the year. Yes. Because actually that's going to massively affect the footprint. So, but the first piece in that is going to be the education piece, and so that all of us are asking the right questions. You know, that's what we're delivering with the digital carbon footprint game. It's that first initial, okay, I actually even need to look at this. This is part of my responsibility, and that's what we're trying to bring.
I like it as well because it moves away from greenwash. I had an argument with someone at a university, let's say in the very south of England last week, who considered themselves to be geniuses because they've got compostable, they called them biodegradable, but they were actually compostable coffee cup lids, and the nearest composter that they use is in Gloucester. So from the south coast, they drive their coffee cup lids to Gloucester and call themselves sustainable because of it. Okay, they need your game. So we haven't got much time. So very quickly, please, let's talk about the inspiration, because I know it was a big part of getting the award and being a female innovator in a digital piece. And I know because I've read your application at length. What is, you know, how are you inspiring and empowering other women innovators, please?
I think first for me, it was, I've never identified as a business person. I've never identified as an entrepreneur or an innovator until recently. And I think it's to say to people, you know, you might have these things that you think about yourself, just throw it all away. Okay. So I'm from an entire family of teachers. That probably figures. I'm sure people could understand why I didn't work in universities. But you know what? I had no role model of somebody who was a business person. But now, you know, I can see actually you don't even need it. We need to throw away those ideas about what we're here for and what we can achieve and what we can do, because you will also find people out there who are your team. Even if you're like a single person working on your own somewhere, you will be able to make a team. You will have people who will support you on your journey, and particularly, you know, through things like the Innovation Hub, the Accelerator Programme, all the other things that I'm accessing, you know, there are people there who can support you. So, and I'd say actually, yeah, I've had a very tough year, a very, very tough year, involving some serious bereavement in my family, which now means that I'm actually now the mother to my niece. So COVID was incredibly unkind to my family. And I've had this business stuff bubbling away alongside it, and it has been a fabulous thing for me to engage with. But many people who'd been through the experience I had last year would have just said, you know what, I just can't put this application in and I can't do this. But I tell you what, you know, when life chucks some stuff at you, you really understand what resilience is about. And actually, you know, hopefully I can say to women, I know you've got tough things that you have to do. And actually, I know a lot of women have kind of caring responsibilities on top of other things and other responsibilities. You can do this. Your sisters are out there to go and prop you up. So go and find them. And actually, all the wonderful men out there too. I don't want men to think this is an exclusively female concern. OK, find your tribe. They will support you. Find your passion. Take your passion. You know, I'm not a tech person. I'm going to be making a digital footprint game. OK, go figure. How did that work? But okay. It's happening.
Thank you. So final question for me. We've got to stick to time. I know Rajinder's a stickler for such stuff. Your game is called How Bad Are Bananas? So Emma Fieldhouse, how bad are bananas?
They're not actually that bad.
Okay, good, because we love bananas.
Keep eating bananas, people. They're good for you. And
can you explain why bananas are okay?
There's 3 reasons they're okay. Because they only travel on ships. They're not they're grown in natural conditions, and they come in their own packaging. Ta-da.
Brilliant. We've all learned something. Thank you.
Well, I'm close, Emma, really, with can you hear now? Is that so I'm just going to close with really what does the future look like over the next year, and really what are you going to be really working on, and then anything else, closing pieces, Emma, sharing, and somebody, I think Anju's put in the chat as well, in terms of nomination for the Innovation Awards. So we need to make sure that we do that as well. So just tell us a little bit more. I'm just checking if there's any more questions. Yeah, there's a couple of people that want to have a chat with you, so probably worthwhile checking.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've got quite a tight schedule to get our tech support in. We're going to be getting some contractors or support to help actually create the game. So I'm in the process of talking to anybody who knows anything about production of digital games. So if you know something, then please do get in touch. And our main focus this year, hopefully COVID allowing, obviously we're not sure, but it'll be online if it's not happening physically, is that we will be at Glasgow for the COP26 climate change conference. Because why would we not want to put this in front of the world's climate change activists? So that's our main aim, is to get to COP in November, massively grow the network kind of globally. We want to be putting a free version of this out towards the end of the year, so in November. Yeah, if anybody's got anybody who's interested in sort of partnering with this, or you think you can help in any way, please reach out. And just, you know, I'm afraid it's the Nike thing, isn't it? Just do it. I mean, if it's a put in a Fieldhouse way, then it's just bloody do it. Okay. Because I'm from the West Midlands, so I've got no class.
Tons of class. So,
thank you, darling.
We've got.
Sorry, go on, Sandra. You go.
We've got a question. Someone's put their hand up. Cameron.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I can't seem to find the chat, so I couldn't put it into chat. But I just wanted to say, Emma, sounds great. Look, sounds fantastic. I think you need a mix of some sort of an architecture specialist and also a user experience specialist. There's a chap called Richard Foggy at the KTN. Yeah, okay. He's always worth talking to when it comes to these sort of digital types of startup stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I can make an introduction for you if you need it. Okay.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Cameron.
Right.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Cameron. Okay, so is my sound back at all, Sandra?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got more chats, more questions coming in.
Yeah.
I've got 2. Cameron, can you put your hand down and then I can?
Yes.
So who else had a question? Oh, there it is. So it's really difficult because I can't fit everyone on the screen. Whoever else had the question, shout up, please.
I think it's Cash.
Yeah, sorry, it's Cash. Yeah, sorry.
Cash.
Hi.
I couldn't see names.
Yeah, it's hard. I just wanted a curious question, actually. We were talking about carbon footprint. You know, we always, and it was a very good example that we always turn to engineering side, and because we are into research and that mindset. But when it comes to the developing countries and those sort of areas, you know, build new architectural materials, and the housing industry is not stopping. They're going on and on and on, and the growth is so massive for them in terms of commercial value. But are they thinking enough about new materials and new designs, or bringing that new step change in architectural or construction industry? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think actually because the worst impacts of climate change are actually more evident in some of these countries, then I'm hopeful that that will mean they won't make a lot of the mistakes that we do. So I was interviewed by this awesome Nigerian lady earlier in the week, Yewande Okinola, and she's spent, I think she's an engineer as well. But she was explaining about when she goes back to Nigeria, how they have awful problems in terms of the climate. And so actually, I mean, really, if, you know, in terms of, I said the work that we're doing, we're trying to focus on the people who are actually creating the problem, because as we know, there's this terribly unequal situation where people in the West are consuming such a lot of stuff that then means that actually in developing countries, you know, you're having perhaps the worst impacts of climate change. And it's terribly unequal. But actually, if you go back to The Age of Stupid, which was an awesome film a number of years ago, they actually had a kind of plan for how to handle this, because we recognise that, you know, we can't expect everybody to bring levels of development down in some way, and we shouldn't have to bring levels of development down. We have to just change how we're doing development. But actually, you know, those other countries do need to step up and have, so that the, you know, developing countries should be allowed to develop up to a certain point, hopefully underpinned with sustainable technologies. And if you look at the market now, why would you want to put money into coal when it's actually cheaper to put wind in place or solar in place? So the technology has, hopefully now, you know, it will eventually, there will be a complete frog leap, and we're not far away from that, I don't think. So.
I think the other piece that I would add is, and certainly the university is developing our own sort of embedded built carbon design guide. So we're looking at but at the moment, that's not in any of the government targets, not in any of the net zero definitions. So you're only looking at the carbon emissions once a building is in existence. And so I think that's for all of us to question that and to say, actually, what's in your scope, what's in your carbon reduction scope? Because it shouldn't be, we worry about a building once it's in existence. It should be, especially if we're starting from the ground up. So that's certainly something that we haven't done in the university until now, because we've started asking these questions. So that's one of those things that actually those of us with the resources, you know, the sort of first world countries ought to be leading the way on this in order for the technology to then be there to roll out. So it's always that question something. If someone says it's carbon neutral, the chances are it's not.
Yeah. We've got one more question, and then I think we'll close the session. But I think it's from, I think it's Chris Gunn.
Hi, Emma. Brilliant work. So, two questions really. Your target market initially was university students,
yeah,
and now you're going general public. Is that fair to say?
Pretty much, although we've got a kind of route to market. It's still B2B really, because actually we are selling to sustainability professionals within organisations for them to actually disseminate through their organisations. Yeah,
interesting model. Okay, second thing, this is for everybody really, and for all of the talks, is the key is collaboration, seeing who else is doing what you're doing or near to what you're doing. Because if you really live sustainability, it's all about utilising current assets, current knowledge bases. You know, you can look at intellectual capital, etc., etc. But my advice to you, if you're looking to create a digital app, just see who's doing it. You know, around the world, Australia, New Zealand. You know, look for essentially best practice and what other people are doing. Yeah, that's all I've got to say, really.
I think we're kind of blessed in the sustainability circles because there's an enormous amount of sharing, because we recognise that's the only way we can fix the problems. And so I have identified what you could call competitors, but they're not really. They're actually going to be able to, we're going to be able to collaborate and cooperate, and with some of them we already have agreements in place. And actually for me, it's also a quicker route to market. They already have existing clients who might well want to buy this. So, you know, I don't see us actually, I think we're actually lucky in a sense, because we're not just another behaviour change engagement thing. We can actually fit within other behaviour change or engagement programmes. So that's actually the approach that we're going to take. So hopefully that will again give us a step in very, you know, much quicker to markets that are already existing.
Okay, well, I think we could continue this all the time. Emma, I think your details, do you want to pop your details back in the chat, because the chat's run on, so that people can continue the conversation offline. I think Rajinder's struggling with her things here. Well, we're gonna close this particular session. Sorry.